All right, and without further ado, we have two amazing speakers here today, Crystal Tucker and Jess Wood. Crystal, I'm going to let you start first if you'd like to introduce yourself, and then go ahead and get started with your presentation.
Awesome, thank you. So my name is Crystal Tucker. I'm with the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. I've been there almost 10 years now, and a sergeant for about 2. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you guys again. Jamie's been awesome and has had me come for a couple of different things. And as always, it's a lot of fun to talk to you guys. I'm also a mother and a wife, got 2 little ones, got a 6-year-old and a 9-month-old now. So we're very busy in this household. Love to spend my time outdoors working as well as my time off. So I appreciate being able to talk about wildlife today because it's obviously a passion of mine, or I wouldn't be in the job I'm in. So let's make sure I can share my screen correctly here. So we're going to do that one. Okay, are you guys able to see that?
So right now we see the slide with the notes. So you can do one of 2 things. If you share your screen and you go into the advanced settings, you can make that little box around the wildlife safety part.
I have one other one that I can get, and I'll just look at this one. You guys can have the actual presentation if it will go.
Okay. You can also go up to the display settings on your screen right now. That might be the key. Perfect.
Can you see that now?
Yep, great.
Now let me make sure it's on the right side for me. That's the challenge of doing Zoom when you have multiple monitors as well. So you see that one. You can still see the correct one there.
Yep.
Okay, I'll just work with it here. Alrighty, so wildlife safety, one of my favorite topics and a very relevant topic that we need to discuss here in Utah because we have an abundance of wildlife out here, and for the most part that's great, but it can be pretty dangerous at times too. So a lot of what you guys are going to see today is going to be from the Wild Aware website. The link is on the bottom there. And Wild Aware Utah is a non-government program that we partner with directly, as well as Hogle Zoo and USU's Extension Campus. And it's wonderful because it provides a lot of outreach and education to minimize conflicts between humans and wildlife. It even lists it by, you can see where it says the be aware, it has different categories and such. So you can get a lot of information for different species or different kind of categories of animals. Gives quick context for having DWR come if you have a conflict or if you need some roadkill picked up, which happens a lot this time of year as well. So pretty much all of my information on this is going to be from this website. So feel free to browse it at your own leisure. It's a wonderful website, and it's very accurate because they work with the right partnerships to make sure they get it right. Bears, cougars, and moose. Oh my, not quite, from the Wizard of Oz, but very relevant for Utah. Utah's version of Wizard of Oz and how we prevent incidents. These are kind of the big 3 that I like to say. These are going to be the 3 big physically as well as the most dangerous animals that we have here, mammals in the state. So cougars, I spent 7 years of my career as the Davis district officer, and I swear every late winter to early spring we're having cougar calls. They're very, very common out here. They're very prolific. Just a couple of important bulletins about them. They're most active at dawn and dusk. They follow deer wherever they're present, and because that's their main food source. So in the winter, when everything's pretty covered in snow, most years they'll follow down into the cities and such, especially from the foothills when the deer are going down too. I liked this quote from Deseret News last year. In the U.S., undeveloped land in mountain lion country is increasingly being developed, which is blurring the buffer between human habitat and lion habitat. It's very, very common. We get tons of calls on various cougars every year. This picture is of 4 young cats. I want to say, it looks like mom might be the one on the right-hand side and the 3 are the little ones. And she's teaching them how to hunt, how to forage for food. And this was caught on somebody's surveillance video. it happens a lot. And unfortunately, sometimes pets are going to be the prey of choice, and God forbid, small children could be as well. So we need to learn how to respect cougars and what habitats they may come in, because they could very easily be in your backyard. So my personal experience, I apologize, a little bit graphic, but you said you guys are nurses and EMTs, so you're probably used to stuff like this. My personal experiences with cougars and local news. So you would think with how big and nasty cougars can be that there'd be a ton of, fatalities, but really it's fairly uncommon. It's fairly rare. We've only had 27 fatal accidents that have been recorded from, the early turn of the century to 1990, which is the most recent I could find data, with 126 total recorded attacks. I like to show this picture. This is up Arthur's Canyon in Davis County. I am actually doing a felony poaching incident on this moose. It was poached. That's interesting enough, but the more interesting story behind it, and probably the most chilling one that I've had so far with my career, is that I was working with a brand new officer trying to get through this deer, because it was my daughter's first birthday the next day. We had a big party plan and everything. But of course, we all know that we get called out when it's the least opportune time. I'm up there working through this, trying to find the bullet trajectory and such, and through the wound pathway, and find out that it had been poached. Turns to dusk fairly quickly, and myself and this brand new officer end up hearing a really nasty growl, and it was a very feline growl, and it ended up being a cougar telling us, like, you need to go away from this carcass now because we want to eat it. And it was pitch black by that time. Tried to look around and find it, could never find it, but it growled enough times that got us pretty well spooked. So we shot our firearms into the hillside a couple of times to hopefully scare it away, and we ended up leaving. So it'll just show you that they don't really care if you're a human or not. If there's something that they want, they're going to let you. At least it let us know. It could have jumped on our backs or something. Luckily it didn't. But kind of a crazy thing. In this YouTube video, I'm going to be very short on it. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Maybe you guys have seen, it might not work. But I highly encourage you guys to Google last year, maybe the second year past, in 2020, we had that hiker that was in the Central Region area, and that mama cougar got separated from the cub, and it started to advance upon that jogger, and that was a pretty scary deal. So I always say you got to be really careful. Treat cougars with a lot of respect. A lot of the times they will give you notice, and I'll give you some tips on how to kind of deal with it, but always be vigilant when you're out in the wilderness. I like to carry my handgun, or at very minimum a pepper spray and a knife, because you don't know what's going to be out there and they might see you as prey. So preventing conflicts by proactive planning, a couple of really important things here. Remove those wildlife attractants from your property. They love to go after pet food. They love to go after your nice water rock display. Those are sources of food and water for them. Shelter could also be possible if you have like a big wood shed, or you have a bunch of rocks or anything. They're going to feel a little bit more comfortable when there's cover. Keep your pets and livestock inside at night, or secure them somehow in something that has a roof. I actually had a case a while back where a cougar went on top of somebody's roof and attacked deer from below it, but he heard the cougar jump off from the roof right above him and attacked the deer. So it's kind of crazy. Keep a clean camp when you're out camping. Store the food and garbage in locked containers, similar to how you would with a bear. Don't hike or jog alone, and avoid going at dawn and dusk, and stay in groups and stay together. That's probably the two biggest ones I'd say for cougars. They're going to normally avoid you as long as they can hear you coming, so make noise. Don't go alone, and don't go at dawn or dusk by yourself, especially because that's when they typically like to be out, and that's when they're looking for something to eat. If you end up finding an animal, cougars often will cache a kill, which is where they bury it partially, and then they'll come back and eat on it. And that's kind of what they didn't necessarily kill that moose, but they saw it as theirs. So I had to be respectful of that and end up leaving that area. So this is kind of a couple of those screenshot photos from that video. Pretty scary deal. When this first came out, I'd never seen a cougar act like that before. It was either really young and kind of very territorial with the kin, or there might have been some additional issues there with it because they are susceptible to disease. But it was pretty alarming to see how long that cougar actually ended up stalking that jogger. He did a great job in that video. I thought, he stopped, he didn't approach. He saw the little one go across the road, and then he saw mama come and was like, oh crap, You want to keep that eye contact and make yourself look as big and tall, wave your arms, put a jacket over your head, anything that's going to make it look like you're bigger and stronger and meaner. Anything that's on the ground, such as children and pets, you're going to pick them up and keep them close to you. Talk firmly, loudly, walk back slowly. And if it attacks, fight back. Protect your head and neck, because that's where they typically like to bite and scratch. But the more that you fight, and if you can throw rocks, if you could do anything like that, just be careful when you bend down. It's going to see that as an opportunity to attack, or if you don't keep your eyes focused on them. But normally, as long as there's nothing actually wrong with that cougar, they're going to want to flee. They're not going to want to fight. This was a very unusual instance. And the most important thing is to report it immediately to our office. And the Wild Aware has our information, or call the local police or sheriff's department, and they'll get one of us out. We have specially trained officers that will deal with something like this. And a lot of times we have to track that cougar down. We might tranquilize it and see if there's anything else that's wrong with it. In some circumstances, we relocate it. In other circumstances, sometimes we do have to put them down depending on what the status is of that individual animal. Moose, we have a lot of moose out here, and they're always bigger than you think they're going to be. If you've never seen one up close and personal, they're very tall, they're very fast, and they're pretty formidable because they're just absolutely, you don't know what they're going to do. They are willing to attack pretty quickly. You'll usually find them in the forest or wooded areas. They're herbivores, and they're just absolutely huge. Like I said, they can get up to 6 feet tall, 1,200 pounds. They swim really well. I've seen them swim across whole reservoirs before, and they run incredibly fast, much faster than you think they'd be able to. And they could be in, chest deep worth of snow, and they can still, run like a freight train through it. You'll see them again day and night, but especially dawn and dusk. They're very aggressive, especially during mating season and calves. So you want to make sure that you're never getting in between the mama. With your dogs, always keep them leashed and controlled when you're in an area where moose might be present. It takes only one well-timed kick or stamping, and they can easily kill a dog or break the jaw or anything like that. If you find one on the trail, do not try to get past it. Give it lots of room. Watch the behavior. It'll give you some pre-attack indicators of when they might want to bluff or charge. If they snort, ears go back, the hair on the neck goes up, you want to hide behind a tree or something solid. We've dealt with that before, where I've had one charge past me, and you definitely want to hide behind something solid. Don't run away. Try to stay calm. Talk to it, let it know that you're there, and slowly back off in the direction. If you get knocked down, make sure that you curl yourself into a ball and protect your head and lie still. If you encounter an aggressive moose again, you need to let us know. That's something that we need to take a look at. Newborn moms and babies, the instinct to protect their young is really strong in all wildlife, but especially true in cougars, bears, and moose. Do not get in between them. It could be a huge problem. If you see the baby, expect that the mama or the dad's going to be nearby. I put bison in here because every year we hear of goring attacks. We hear of people getting too close to bison over at Antelope Island, which I have the privilege to live really close to. And every time when I'm at the island, I'm always feel like I'm, shouting at people, letting them know who I am. And hey, you need to, get back on the trail. You need to get away from these guys. They're not, they're completely wild, and I'd hate to see anybody get hurt from them because they are big beasts. Rattlers are another thing that we have a ton in the state. We have 7 different types of venomous snakes and 6 are rattlesnakes. They are protected under Utah law. I feel that I need to say that because I've had a lot of people that say, you know, if you find one, you shoot, shovel, and shut up. Well, you could get a pretty hefty fine from doing that. So don't try to kill them. If it's in your property, let us know. We come out and we'll take them. We have special tools to grab them and relocate them. They also can't be collected or possessed without a special registration form. Like I said, if you find one, let us know and we'll take care of it. Dogs and rattlesnakes is something that was asked to be brought up, and I think it's a really timely thing because we do have a lot of people that like to bring their dogs on the trails, and it's a pretty big deal when you come across rattlesnakes. I've almost stepped on one a couple of years ago when I was hiking myself, and luckily I looked down before I did, but I knew that the rock cropping that I went to had some really nice warming rocks there, and luckily I looked first because there was 2 rattlesnakes right where my foot was going to land, and I was about an hour away. So that would have been a really expensive, really unfortunate day for me, and luckily I looked. So it's important to keep your dog on a leash when you're hiking or camping. If you let them roam, that's definitely going to increase the chance that they're going to be finding a snake and they're going to get bitten. This is a really cool thing that I am kind of newly aware to, and something I'm looking forward to getting my dogs into. They're called snake aversion classes, and they're offered throughout the Wasatch Front, it looks like, but they're 3 to 4 hour instructions where you actually bring your dogs, and they're taught by smell how to recognize rattlesnakes and what they need to do to avoid them. This is a picture from the website of the rattlesnakealert.com. That's where I would go if this is something that interests you. They take defanged rattlesnakes for these so that you don't have to worry about your dog getting any venom or anything. And if they get bit, I would hope that it's not going to hurt the pup too much, but it is something that helps them to recognize it so that they know by smell to stay away from that animal. So super important for anybody who likes to have their dogs in the backcountry. Raccoons, they're cute, but man, they're one of my least favorite to deal with. They're just not very nice, and they're disease carrying little buggers. And sometimes we have people that want to have these at their house because, you know, they might find them when they're little and tiny and think they're oh so cute. And there's plenty of videos on YouTube showing that, you know, they're adorable. And some states you're allowed to possess them. This is not one of those states. You have to have a special permit to have them live at your house. If somebody was having them be a varmint, they're not protected in Utah, so you could take care of them. Feel free to contact me if that's something that you have questions on. But they're opportunists, you know, they're going to be eating pet food, garden items, trash. They pose a huge risk to humans with the different diseases, distemper, mange, rabies, parvovirus, and roundworm, just all sorts of stuff you don't want. Don't try to approach or feed them. Obviously, you're more likely they're not going to get bit. Vaccinating your pets are always a good idea for various things, but including this. And if you see raccoons, you know, enjoy them, but keep them at a safe distance. Baby deer and baby birds. This little deer was left by its mom with a lawnmower that was actually shoved up against the side in a garden shed there in Bountiful. It's super young, and it was a really fun day to be able to hang out with the little guy. But it was actually left there because it was a safe place for it to be. We recommend to leave it alone unless it's in a place where there's a lot of dogs or a lot of kids or something that is going to disrupt it. The parents know exactly where it's at, and they'll feed it and they'll come back to it. And that is true for both deer and for baby birds. If you think that, you know, it's been a couple of days or a week and it's still there and the parents don't seem like they've come back, let us know. We don't have a way to rehabilitate deer, unfortunately, in the state, but we do have rehabilitators for various types of birds. So we could have you take it to the rehabilitator, and hopefully they'll keep it fairly wild, get it well enough to, you know, last on its own, and they'll release it back in the wild. Go ahead and give us a call if you have any worries, again, about children or pets or, you know, anything like that bothering the baby. But super cute. These are just great overall tips that I found online. You know, make noise, don't wear headphones, keep your pets and children close by, travel in groups, pay attention to smells, try to stay away at dawn and dusk. It's just not a good idea. If you encounter wildlife, don't go between mama and baby. Talk slow, quiet. Unless it starts getting aggressive, then you might need to get a little bit aggressive too, just so it knows that you're a threat. You want it to actually think that you're a bigger threat. Back away slow. And pepper spray is a great thing to have. The bear pepper spray can go like 12 to 20 feet. It's very, very strong. Just don't get it in your own eyes or face or anything. I can tell you from experience that pepper spray really stings, and the bear kind would probably be the worst of it all. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, Crystal. Jess, you are up.
Oops, hang on a sec. Let me just turn off my share screen. Are you still seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. There we go. Thank you.
Perfect. Can you see mine?
Not yet.
Let's see. Oh. What about now?
No, I can't see it yet. If you go down to the bottom, you'll see that green share screen button.
Oh yeah. Hold on. Nope, I'm still can't find it.
So if you're in the PowerPoint right now, you might just have to escape and make that smaller. And then when you go back to the Zoom call, you should be able to see that green share screen button.
I'm not finding it out.
All right, so if you want to go ahead right now, and if you go down to the bottom of your computer, you'll see that blue Zoom icon with the white camera.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Click on that. And then right below that, or I'm sorry, right above that, you should see the share screen button, and it should be green.
For some reason, it's not letting me.
If you can't see it, what you can do is you can click escape and try to make your Zoom smaller, and then usually you'll see it.
No.
And while we're working through these technical difficulties, does anyone have any questions right off the bat for Crystal? You can come off mute or throw them in the chat.
Al, are you able to play mine? Because I can't figure out how to.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry.
And one thing you can do too, Jess, if it's easier, is you can leave the meeting and come back.
Okay. We'll see if that'll work then.
Okay.
Maybe. You just want to play mine?
Yes, send it my way.
You don't have it, do
The
you?
worst one for doing.
What's that?
It's a dumb Zoom. It's like one of the worst ones for doing these.
Only we could Teams everything. It'd be so much easier.
Yeah, we
Thanks you guys for bearing with us. Sometimes, you know, technical difficulties just happen and we roll with it, and it's okay.
It should be in the email that we, sorry,
Okay, great.
that we were in.
And Jess, I don't have it in my email.
Okay. Darn it.
So,
Let me see what I can do.
oh, and Becky's got a question while we're working this through, and she's got a question about coyotes. It says there's a lot in Dimple Dell where she runs, but she feels like they may be more scared of her. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'd say coyotes are definitely one of the ones that are going to be more scared of you, similar to bobcats. The only time that you would find a coyote that's not quite, that's not acting right is one that might have been imprinted, which means that it's been given food and kind of normalized around humans. There was one on Antelope Island for a couple of months that people kept giving food to, and yeah, it definitely caused it to want to come to you instead of away from you. But normally they should be going away from you. If you have one that's not acting like a normal, wild coyote, then you need to let us know. That's something that could definitely be a hazard, and we probably need to go take a look at it, make sure that it doesn't have any, distemper or anything can also cause it to kind of lose its fear and such. So, but normally they should be running away. That's a good question. I didn't think to mention coyotes. Did I answer your question enough, Becky? Is there anything else you'd like me to touch more on while they're working through this? Yeah, startling's okay. I would definitely want a startle encounter than something that escalates a little bit. Hey,
Yeah,
Jess.
I'm actually out on the trail right now,
Oh,
so I
great.
thought of it because I'm right in an area where I saw one just like on a run about a week ago, and he or she was a lot bigger than I remember them or generally that I see. So I don't know. I think we both scared each other, but
Jealous that you're out there. It looks like a good day to be running.
it is.
Well, stay safe out there. Thanks for the question. Hey, Jessica, I might have your presentation. Would you like me to run it for you and just have you tell me go through if it was in that email thread?
Sure.
Okay, hang on a sec. Let me see if I can grab it.
And I think I sent it to Allie as well.
She might be even better than me.
Man, I had it pulled up and everything earlier.
I think Zoom's just not easy to use. Do you have it, Allie, or would you like me to run it? I can't hear you. It shows that you're not muted, but we can't hear you.
Oh, I got it. I think I got it now.
All right, all you.
Maybe. Sure. Minimize. Oh, I'm just
Working.
maybe. Now I can't get back into it.
Here we go.
There we go. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Is this one, am I doing it or are you doing it?
I will move it along for you.
Perfect. Sorry for all that, you guys. Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Jessica Wood. I'm an EMT in the emergency department at the U of U, and I've been there for 6 years, I do believe. And it has been nothing less of a wild ride. So we're going to go over emergency medicine and treatments of animal incidents. So some of the animals we're going to be talking about are black bears, cougars, moose, raccoons, and rattlesnakes. The first one will be black bear safety. So when you're hiking or in the backwoods, 2 important things that you can do for yourself for safety is carry bear spray. Like Crystal was saying, that it is pretty potent and it can do a lot of work. And carry a firearm. Not a lot of people want to carry a firearm, and that's okay. So carry bear spray just to protect yourself. There are people that say one is better than the other, and bear spray will be just okay for you. But if you want to carry a firearm and have that second force if you need, please do it. So if you're attacked, fight back, stand big, protect yourself as best you can. And Crystal went over that stuff earlier. Remember, best defense is to keep your distance. You can go to some of the injuries that we'll see with a bear attack is puncture wounds from their claws. As you can see, their claws are pretty big, and this is just a black bear. If you saw some grizzly claws or a polar bear claws, they're pretty big as well. They might be a little bit bigger. You'll get some lacerations from their bites and their claws, some fractures because they do have some weight behind them, and they'll use that weight. And the bites that can also cause fractures. And you can get some large amount of bleeding externally and internally, and it can even cause death from a bear attack. So just be careful when you're out in the backcountry. Some treatment that you can do in field and will do in the hospital is direct pressure. Direct pressure can go such a long ways. Keep on adding pressure onto that wound until it stops. And if that doesn't work, a tourniquet. I personally will always carry a tourniquet in my bag, in my car, just because you don't know what may happen. So a tourniquet might be helpful in some instances. Some quick clot, not a lot of people will carry that, but you're able to buy that actually. Some people don't know that. Some quick clot can also help so much. Call for possible airlift and seek help at a hospital as soon as possible. Cougars, cougar safety. Cougars probably scare me more than bears, to be honest with you, because they're so elusive. Some safety that you can do with a cougar is don't run, stand your ground, stand tall, and make yourself look big. If you're attacked, Crystal said this, and because they will go for your head and neck, so protect those vital parts of your body. You can't try to run out a cougar just because their jump can go up to 20 feet and vertically up to 16 feet. So people, if you think that you can outrun a cougar, it's not possible. So try to protect yourself. Some injuries, and some people don't know this about cougars. Their bites can be very potent. Their claw wounds, some lacerations, and they do carry rabies. Not all of them do, but you just have to be mindful that you may have to go get a rabies vaccine with cougars. Some treatment to do with the injuries is direct pressure again, some bandaging, seek treatment at a hospital, and a possible rabies vaccine. Some moose or meese. You want to give them a lot of space because those long legs can run pretty fast. You don't run, be loud, And be aware of the rutting season that Crystal was talking about, because they do get a little more crazy during those times. And if they do attack you, you want to get behind an object, and curl up into a ball if you can't find anything, because their legs will trample you. Some injuries that we would see are some fractures, some internal bleeding, some lacerations, and you saw their antlers, and they can gore you if you're on the ground. So just try to be careful. And those long legs can trample you. Some treatment for moose injuries will be direct pressure, quick clot again, a tourniquet, splinting, and a possible treatment from a hospital. Raccoons. Some safety to do with raccoons, because they're little buggers, is keep your camp clean. You want to back away if they try to come at you, and stand tall and shout and fight back if you need to. The possible injuries that we would see are some bites with those little teeth, some scratches, and some diseases. They do, not all, some of them do carry diseases, and they're pretty nocturnal animals. So if you see them during the day, there's a good chance that they do have a disease. So just call Division of Wildlife or your local authority and just tell them about a raccoon sighting during the day. Some treatment you can do with a raccoon is direct pressure, some bandaging, and possible rabies vaccine. And you want to, if you're bitten by a cougar or a raccoon, I forgot to talk about this on the cougars, is you want to be seen at a hospital within 72 hours for the possibility of you needing a rabies vaccine. Some rattlesnakes. There's not a lot of animals that scare me like cougars and rattlesnakes. I probably will have to say rattlesnakes scare me more than cougars, just because you don't know where they are. Know your surroundings. Don't run or jump. Look where you're stepping while you're hiking. And their bites. Some things that you'll need for treatment from a rattlesnake bite is just be seen at a hospital for the possibility of antivenom. And not always will you need an antivenom, but the pharmacists and the docs and the providers will assess that appropriately and determine if you need it. A huge thing that a lot of people think that they need is, after a rattlesnake bite, is to bring in the snake. And please don't bring in the snake. Take a picture of it if you're able to, but if not, leave it where it is and just come to the hospital without killing a snake. And we would not like that in the emergency department.
It's not too often I've seen people actually bring snakes to me. They definitely tell me about the snakes, but yeah, I can't imagine you want that in the emergency department.
There was this patient last summer, I do believe, that brought in a rattlesnake, and we're like,
no kidding.
I feel like they brought it in a bucket or like an ice cream container or something.
Yep.
Jeez. Can't
I
you
do have a
tell by the bite though that it's like, I mean, you're gonna see kind of the effects of the venom spreading and everything pretty quick to know that it's a venomous snake too.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead out.
Oh, I just had a question about the bites. I've heard about snakes dry biting and was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
Do you want me to handle that, Jessica, or would you like to?
I know some of the dry bites. I think it's 25% that they may dry bite. Is that correct?
I don't know if I know it. You might know more on that than me. I know that that does occur. I don't know that I've ever heard a hard and fast stat on how often the percentage is. But yeah, sometimes you can be lucky enough to have a bite that doesn't inject any of the venom. So if you ever get bit, it's probably, excuse me, still worth going to the hospital and having it cleaned and checked and everything just in case. But you might be one of those lucky people that it's not going to swell and start getting really, the tissue decay and all that. One thing that I just wanted to jump in that I should have put in my slides is, I'm talking a lot from not only the wildlife professional side, but from the law enforcement side, just so everybody knows, if you come across an animal that is actively trying to attack you and you end up using a firearm in defense, you're not going to get charged for killing that animal, but you do need to make sure that you contact local authorities to get one of our officers out there right away so we can do a quick investigation to make sure that the facts line up, that yes, you are in fear of your life. There's evidence to kind of show that, and it substantiates why that animal was killed. We have unfortunately had some people that say, oh, like I was in fear of my life. And it's like, well, you could have backed away, or you were okay, but you kind of advanced and ended up shooting that animal because you kind of wanted to shoot that animal. I don't think that that's very common for many people. I think most people would leave the area rather than want to shoot that animal. But just to give everybody a little bit of heads up that, pending an investigation, if you're in fear of your life and you shoot that animal, you're going to be okay. Like, you don't have to worry about criminal charges or anything. We want you to feel comfortable that as much as I love wildlife, I'm going to go home at the end of the day. And I expect that from our public too. Humans' lives are always going to be higher in my mind than wildlife.
You probably get a lot of people that argue the bear spray, the spray and the firearm part of it.
I'm one of those people that's like, why limit yourself to one? I'll carry both,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, thanks for that, Crystal. And I just wanted to comment, Jess, on the medical treatment and identification and treatment. And it seems like a lot of these big animals, what they're causing to you, like the biggest injury is bleeding, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you mentioned you carry a tourniquet and you can buy Quick Clot. For anyone, you're all EMTs and nurses from what I know, but Quick Clot is that like gauze that has magic stuff impregnated into it that's going to help you clot, so help stop that bleeding. And I tell everyone that if you're in the backcountry, you're a helicopter ride away from the hospital, but the thing that's going to kill you immediately is bleeding. So having, taking those measures to make sure you're preventing the bleeding, you're stopping the bleed, take a Stop the Bleed class. That's really what's going to help you.
And it doesn't matter the type of tourniquet as long as you have a tourniquet. What
type do you carry with you?
I carry a cat tourniquet, and I actually have one that I can show you.
Oh, great. Yeah. And I think, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, you can tie a shirt around it, or you can use a belt. And the amount of pressure that you need to put on an actively arterial bleeding wound is so much pressure. You're going to fatigue really quickly. So take the time, go buy a $15 tourniquet, throw it in your backpack. You carry everything else. What's another little, quarter of a pound, right?
Yep. And this one's the cat tourniquet. Can you guys see that? And it's pretty long. So if you have a thick thigh like me, it will fit around. And this is the little piece. So.
And I like how small that is in the whole scheme of things. You could throw that into a backpacking pack.
Yeah. I carry one in my diaper bag, carry one in my car.
Nice.
When I'm hunting, especially, I'll carry it.
That's great. What questions do we have from the audience?
I have a question.
Hey, Amy.
Is there like a specific habitat that rattlesnakes hang out in so I can avoid going to those places, or?
I don't know that I'd say a specific habitat more than what season we're in. When it starts getting warm, they're going to like to, since they're cold-blooded, they're going to go on any kind of warm pavement or warm rocks. wood piles and just soak up all that sun. So like today, I think it's supposed to get in the mid 70s. They're probably going to start coming out of hibernation here fairly quickly. So I don't know that I necessarily want to like scare you to the point where you're not enjoying all the habitats that we have out here, but just kind of being mindful of it, watching where you step, paying attention and listening to make sure if you hear a rattle that you can locate it and step away from that area. But yeah, we, excuse me, in the foothills, on Antelope Island, you know, hilly areas with a lot of brush, a lot of wood pile or rock outcroppings is where you're typically going to find them. But we find plenty of them around, you know, cement patios and such in people's backyards too. But again, those people are typically kind of off of the side of the mound. They're in the benches and everything. They won't come too much further down than that normally in my experience.
Amy,
you.
something, all of the rattlesnakes that all of the patients who've been bitten by rattlesnakes that I've ever taken care of were actually living in the foothills, but they were out gardening. So it was like, it was spring, they were excited to get out in their garden, they were working, they didn't look and they reached into a plant or into a rock that had a snake curled up in it.
That's such a good point. A lot of the times, I mean, statistically, people are going to get bit if they're messing with it more than anything. Like, that's really where you're going to have a lot more than anything. And I hate to say it, but it seems like guys are the ones that get bit more than girls. Leave it alone and it won't normally bite you.
Something else that I wanted to mention about rattlesnakes, Jess, you mentioned the anti-venom part.
Yeah.
And something that I didn't realize until I started taking care of patients who needed anti-venom is that the snake's venom actually causes blood to clot, which is why they need that anti-venom and they need to stay in the hospital for a few days.
Yeah.
So just kind of a fun fact, snake venom causes clotting.
Since we're still on the topic, there's a lot of those old wives' tales that are still around with rattlesnakes here, and they're just not accurate. I mean, you don't actually want to use a tourniquet. You don't want to try to suck it out. Like, none of that's going to work. Just try to prevent shock and get them to a hospital as quick as possible is going to be the best way to do it.
It's crazy how advanced our medicine has come since people have done that.
Yeah,
you don't put the tourniquet on the bite. And somebody was asking me the other day if they bought a kit to suck out the venom, and I was like, don't do that.
when I first came out here, I'm originally from California, and I grew up with a lot of rattlesnakes because I grew up in the desert. But yeah, when I first came out here, I was like, cool, I'm going to be a conservation officer. And I grabbed one. I actually have a Snakebite Kit, and it has like a plunger for like sucking. It's actually good. It's supposed to be for, bites from spiders and stuff like that, where you can or bees, you can kind of take away the stinger. But for some reason, they threw snake in there too. So I definitely wouldn't use it for that. But for some spiders and stuff, it'll be okay still.
What other questions do you have from the audience? Since we've got about 5 minutes left, I was hoping that you two could talk a little bit more about moose. I feel like, a lot of our higher alpine trails, I often will find moose hanging out by the lakes, and a lot of the bike trails as well. I've come up in Park City, I've come up on moose on the bike trail. And at that point, there's only one way to go. So how do you navigate a moose in the middle of your trail?
What I would do personally, and I encountered, there's a moose up by Snow Basin on this trail with its mom. Often people see it all the time. And I was with my toddler, and it was probably right before winter, and stopped me down the tracks. Like Crystal and I spoke, is what we said in the PowerPoint is stop, especially try to not throw your stuff off your bike in that instance. And you back away, get off your bike and walk away slowly.
Yeah, I honestly, out of cougar, bear, and moose, I forgot to bring this up. the one that I'm the most worried about is moose. And I never thought that would have been the case before being an officer, but I've dealt with all three, moose the most, and they are actually the ones that are the hardest to predict. And they're the most likely to just do their nasty, like bluff attack and everything. And they're just big and mean and they're fast. They're more likely to hold their ground than the other two are. You can normally scare a cougar, you can scare a bear. If you come across a moose in a path, just give up and turn around, because you are not getting past that sucker. Like, it's not worth your life. They're just headstrong and they can be kind of mean. And if they have decided that this is my path, then let them have that ground and give us a call. We had one a couple of years ago, right there at the mouth of Ogden Canyon off of that trail. I can't remember what that trail is called. It's been a few years. But it was exactly that. There was something wrong with it. It had been pacing there for the last couple of days because we could see the tracks, we could see the scat. And we had hikers and Boy Scouts and everybody trying to get past, and it was just not letting them. And so we had to come out and tranquilize it, take a look at it, and found out it was having some sight issues and disease. And yeah, normally most of our wildlife are going to be more scared of us, but moose, it's very much a question mark. So I give them the most respect out of all the other three, even though cougars are pretty terrifying too.
And they're not trying to eat you. They're herbivores, of course. They're just trying to neutralize you.
And what's a safe distance? You know, if we're hiking on a trail and we come up to Dog Lake, for example, we see a moose up there, what's a safe distance where we can observe and look at the beautiful animal, but not get too close?
The further, the better. I'd say at least, because think about it, it's 35 miles per hour when they decide that they're going to charge and run at their like top speed. So I'd say, 100 yards would be my minimum. And like having some space in between you. They don't have as good of eyesight, I believe. Like, they're not bad, but they want, like when I was talking about, you want to make yourself known in the area. You don't want to startle them. So further away in some rocks or some trees or something that you can also hide behind, because they can't turn very fast when they run. So if you can kind of hide behind an object, that'd be the best thing for you. I don't want people to think we don't want them to enjoy wildlife too, just at a safe distance, that they're not going to come and you don't want to be on YouTube. Nobody wants to be on YouTube for that.
No, great. Thank you. We've got a couple minutes left here. I have released the post-presentation polling. You'll need to fill this out if you'd like those nursing contact hours. But in the last few minutes here, what other questions do you have for Jessica or Crystal? All right, well, I just want to thank you both, Crystal and Jess, for coming out today and teaching us about wildlife safety. I think it's super important now that everyone's coming out of hibernation and we're all getting, off the ski slopes and back onto the trails. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica, it was good seeing you again.
Good seeing you too.
When I saw you, I was like, oh yeah, we did it back in 2020. It's been a minute.
Yes, we did. It has. We'll have to do it again.
Yep. Take care.
Just stay on for just a few minutes at the end here.
All right.
Bye. Thanks all for coming. I got engaged.
What? Congratulations.
Thank you.